Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Dolls with Karen. I know it seems like I'm constantly changing my camera angle, but I'm trying to get one where you can really see good. And I just don't know, it seems like after a while, the doll just doesn't show that well if it's laying on the table or something. And so I changed my angle because I'm thinking you can't see. But anyway, I've got another baby on the table. It's Kaelin. She's a artist sculpt made by Denise Pratt. And she was actually molded, not cast, but molded in 2010. So early on, she was doing a lot of artist kits before she did the reborns, I guess. I don't know. The real borns, I mean. But Kaelin is even older than Priscilla. Oh, excuse me. If you remember, Priscilla was 2017, and this one's 2010. It already seems like Priscilla's been around forever, but evidently not. But anyway, this is a tiny baby. She's going to be 16 inches. And she's very, very cute. If she comes out really good, I'm going to keep her because I've been wanting a Kaelin. I've made many, many Kaelins. And but I've sold them all. They sell pretty fast. But I wanted a Kaelin. And, you know, since they reran all those kits that you couldn't get anymore, I got another Kaelin. And if she comes out really good where I like her very, very good, I may keep her. I don't know yet. But there's a possibility that I'll be selling her. I just really don't know at this point. But I just dipped all my brushes, so we're going to be pretty much working with wet paint, even though I'm not going to be sticking it in a jar. But I want to put some blue on her, and I think most of my blues got dipped. I'm not sure if every single one of them did. All I have to do is feel of them to see. They're kind of wet. This one's kind of dry. I just don't know if I can put any color in the corner of her eye with a brush this big and her being that tiny. I just don't know. But I can put it across her forehead like this. She's very preemie, so there's a chance that a preemie baby like her would be even more blue than a bigger baby, because they just don't have their all their skin formed correctly. She's not a micro preemie, but she's 16 inches, and she'd probably be a 2-pound or maybe a 2.5-pound baby. I don't know. I don't really know what the weight is for the length of the baby. I guess they can possibly still be a little bit fatter. She doesn't have an ounce of fat on her. She's just skinny. But she'll have a tiny little body too, that is designed for her size. And I have one, I think, left. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of the dolls that I have that have 3/4 and they're little like this. I just don't know yet. But Kaelin is very small, and she makes a cute little tiny doll. And I've made some very beautiful Kaelins before. And she has an open twin that is Cadence. But Cadence is nowhere near as pretty as Kaelin is. And the sleeping dolls sometimes are much, much prettier than the open-eyed dolls. So a lot of times when you're making an open-eyed doll, a lot of people think they're going to come out prettier. Well, they're really not, I don't think. Well, some people just want eyes. They just want their doll to have eyes. So, I mean, I get that, you know. But in the same respect, if you're trying to make the prettiest doll, it's most of the time going to be the sleeping one. And if you want to turn a girl-looking doll into a boy-looking doll, you have a better chance of doing that on the sleeping one, too. I'm putting purple above her eyebrows, up in that brow, above her brow ridge, because it sinks in a little bit. It will give her a shadowy look up there, like maybe there's, you know, it's a little deeper there than it is. And also above, underneath her brow ridge, above where I put the blue, I'm going to put some there too, because it does make a little shadowy effect. You might not can see the color, but I bet you can see the shadow effect of it. It really looks good on the doll. And as you add more paint, I'm putting some purple in this little part of her, above her lip and inside of her nose. We have to remember to color inside the nose. Whatever color we're putting in there, we need to remember to continue to build on it, because it's not going to be very dark from just one application. And there's a good chance you won't even be able to tell it's painted after you start painting the doll And if their face starts to get a lot of color to it, you're going to miss it altogether that there's even any sort of color inside the nose. I'm going to go ahead and put another stripe or two of blue on her forehead because it's just not showing well because it's wet paint. Wet paint just doesn't show as well as dry paint does. And I'm going to try to dot some in the corner of her eyes without getting it all over the place, like that. And I don't know, with her being such a preemie, if she might not even have blue on top of her eyelids. I just don't know. We'll just put a little and see what happens. This is sort of experimental. I don't usually do all this to the preemies. I mean, I do to put enhancements on them. I do that. I don't put any yellow usually on them because they're just so little. And most of their face is taken up by the other colors you're putting on them. I'm going to put some red on her now. I'm just going to blush her up a bit with some red. And preemie babies seem to be redder, very much redder than bigger babies. They're just super red, I guess, because I don't know, their skin is not fully formed, I think, a lot of times. Little preemie babies in the NICU, and I believe a 16-inch baby would probably be in the NICU, at least for a while, because they're so little. If a baby only weighs 2 to 3 pounds, I don't care how developed they are, they're probably in the NICU because they're just so little. And they can't hold their temperature well, they can't hardly do anything well. So they're usually totally confined to the NICU for at least a week or two, probably, until they start gaining a little weight. And they do weigh them every single day to see if they're gaining any weight. Okay, I'm gonna put some red up on her forehead too because I just want her to be a lot redder than the normal size baby. She's even littler than little Aspen and Leaf were. They were kind of tiny. But she's even tinier than that. So she's going to be quite red in the face. She may even be redder than that. I may put even more on her. But it's probably going to be on in another step. And I did not kabuki it because it doesn't seem to be that dark because it is wet paint. This paint has only been a few hours in the paintbrush. Yes, a lot of the paint thinner did evaporate. But just with the same note is that it's still kind of wet, so it's unlikely that it's going to be all that dark on her face. So that's why we're putting it on pretty thick and over again to make sure she actually gets some color in her face. You see how long it's taken just to do her face with this blush. If you were trying to do a whole doll with dry painting, you need about 50 brushes in a really long time. When I start doing the layers, I start dipping my brush in the paint. But I just do my enhancements this way. Now I'm going to color her ears. I'm pretty sure that'd be kind of dark too. That one's out. Just remember when you're using wetter paint that you may have to do more coats of it because it's not going to be as dark at all. Tiny babies like Kaelin could possibly be bald-headed. I don't know how preemie a baby has to be before. I don't know when they get their hair in development. But preemie babies are usually not fully developed, especially their little lungs and stuff. And they're very, very fragile for getting diseases and stuff, especially lung ailments. A lot of babies die from getting RSV or one of those lung ailments when they're very tiny. That's why they have them in, well, that's one reason. They have to be kept warm too because they can't maintain their body temperature. That's another reason they have them in incubators because they just can't. They can't regulate their body temperature because they're just too little. They're not really supposed to be born yet, but they are, so she looks really good, I think. I just would like her face a little darker, but I'm not going to do it right now because, well, it needs to sort of dry up a little. I'm going to Hit her with this hot gun. Ooh, that's hot. Can't keep your hands down there, it's hot. Eventually her face will start to feel really, really hot. Not as hot as it is when it's in the oven, but still hot. You'll feel the hot. Yeah, her face is getting hot. She is surely dry. I hate to put this hot glue gun, this hot air gun back in that basket. The nozzle gets very hot, and I'm afraid it might get up against the plastic of the basket and sort of melt it. Yeah, she feels very hot. Now I'm going to give her some veins and some capillaries, and because she is so little, she probably has lots more capillaries, probably, I'm guessing at that, than the average baby would. I'm going to give her regular veining like we always do, and don't forget we're using aquamarine, and we're going to control our thickness of our line and the darkness of our line by how hard we press down. I'm going to use a very light touch because I want the veins to disappear into the background. Even though on a little preemie baby, they're liable to be more prominent, I think, because they're just very small in age. But anyway, we're just going to make a squiggly vein coming down her forehead like we always do. I like to put a branch in it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's certainly there. Then I'm going to rub it with the sponge here and blend it into the background. That's what we want. We want to see it, but only slightly. And then I'm going to put one over here kind of on her temple like we always do. And give it a little branch too. And then we're going to brush that one. And then we're going to put one on this side, same as we always do. And have been in many videos now. Yes, and it's all going into the background very beautifully. I can still see them. They'll still show at the end, but they'll be vaguer. Now I'm going to take my other pencil and we're going to put some capillaries on it. I'm not going to vein her arms and legs. They're just so tiny. It's just hard to do on tiny little. But I am going to give her some capillaries. One on her eyelid. I'm pressing down too hard. It's not rubbing. It's still very likely that they'll fade into the background though. They're very dark. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to put some on her cheeks. Some little capillaries. You know, the little capillaries are just tiny, tiny little blood vessels that are up close to the skin. I think they must be arteries instead of veins, because veins are blue and arteries are what are red. And I'm going to put one right over here in her temple. It doesn't matter if part of your vein line is over or under the capillary line. It doesn't matter. You do it any way you want to do it. If you want to put it totally free from the vein, that's fine too. But you can put as many or as few as you want, or none at all. And also you can make them as elaborate as you want, or as simple as you want, or just one little tiny squiggle line. You don't even have to put any branches off of them or anything. You just make them or don't make them. I mean, it's totally and strictly up to you if you have any capillaries at all on your doll. I like them. They give a little more realism, and they fade with each a little bit. You don't have to worry about rubbing them too much, or too little, rather, because as you're putting on the layers of paint, all that paint thinner going across it is going to fade them a little bit. and they're going to look a little more natural. So I've got capillaries on her face. I'm not putting any on the rest of her body because she's just too tiny. Her tiny little body, I just don't even know if I could get any on her. But we're going to try to give her some, I don't even know if I want to do creases, but we probably will. I don't know. I have a pencil for creasing. The color of it is henna. And this is it, I believe. Yeah, this is it. It's a brownish red, almost like a skin tone, so that you don't have some blatantly loud color on their skin. I found all the colors that I tried in the past were just not right. And not that this one's spot on exactly right either. I could certainly use get a sharper point faster if you sharpen it in this big one instead of this little one. Anyway, I could certainly use some more colors to try out. I'm going to be using my magic brush. I hardly ever even show it anymore. I call it magic because it seems to do magic things for me. It does things that other brushes don't. Now, with her being so little, I'm going to actually paint the whole entire bottom of her foot blue. I'm just going to use this brush and just paint her foot blue. And then after I get finished painting her foot blue, I'm going to paint some red over the top of it. We're going to let it sit a minute while we're doing something else and let the blue thoroughly dry and have time to take hold of the vinyl real good before we start putting any other color on there. We want them to be a little bit blue. Being so preemie, I would think the whole bottom of their foot would be blue. That's just something in my mind. I don't really know if it's accurate or not. But the choices we make for our baby are our personal choices. I don't think the whole bottom of the foot being blue looks bad. I just think on bigger babies, you're not going to see as many enhancements like these tiny newborn things. You know, if you're making a 23-inch doll, you're not going to want to put so much of those kinds of details on them because they're starting to just look like a little kid almost, and hardly any at all like a little baby. And they at least look like a big baby. When your baby's big like that, they don't have all these tiny newborn enhancements. They have just regular normal looking skin like we do. Now they might have some darker creases because they are still babies, but still, you know, a lot of their enhancements that you're doing to little babies, you wouldn't do to big babies. But she's not at all a big baby, not at all. So I'm just going to hit her with the heat gun on the feet for a second or two. I'm also going to color. Oh yeah, she got hot. I always feel to see if they got at least a little bit hot. They cool off very quickly because the heat is not deep, excuse me, into the vinyl like if they took a complete bake. I'm also going to paint her entire hands and feet pinkish color. I'm going to try to get them well, I'm not going to do it with that tiny brush, that's for sure. I was reaching for another one. I want to give her that really, really newborn look. She should have a preborn look. I don't know how red babies are before they are actually born. And if they're born premature, are they more red as they're developing? I don't know. I don't really know. I just know that whenever I see a real newborn baby, either in a film or on TV or in a hospital or something, and they're just really, really freshly born, they're really red everywhere. And preemies stay a lot redder, I think, because I don't know why. I guess their blood vessels are closer to the edge of their skin. Because in my opinion, I think I've actually seen babies that were so premature that you could see right through their skin almost and see their blood vessels and stuff. And that's because their skin isn't fully formed yet. And so it's very, very thin. And so you would see more indications of that, I'm assuming, on preemies than you would on full-term newborns, you know. So that's why they're so red, I think. But we have to actually color them red. So that's not too dark. I don't like it if it's starkly dark, and that's not. It's pinkish. Even though it looks pink on your doll, do not put pink on your doll. It will look a different color altogether. It will look like, this is light red, really. It's not really pink. It does look pink a little bit, but if you was to put actual pink on your baby, the color of pink you would get would be just nothing natural looking that should be on a baby. You won't like it. So don't put pink on your baby. Now, if your color, like I've seen this when I was using air dry, some of the colors, even the blush that's supposed to be wine colored, when you mix it up, it looks pink in the jar, but it's really not supposed to be a pink color, and it doesn't really come out pink on the baby. It's a whole different ball game if you're using air dry, because the colors are different when you mix them up than they would be if you were mixing up heat set. They look different in the jar even, and so you have that to contend with. You know what color it's supposed to be, so you know it's not really pink. But you wouldn't want to get a pink, take out white and mix it with red and try to get a real pink color. You wouldn't want that, because it's going to look very, very fake on your doll. Even though this looks pinkish, it's really not pink. And so it comes off with a pinkish hue to it, but it's not the same kind of pink that you'd have by, I hope that makes sense to somebody. It's not the same kind of pink you'd have if you're using, say, a pink paint that you mixed up or something. Now I'm going to do the feet because I think it's had time for the blue to thoroughly dry. If you're going to put different colors on top of the color you already have, anytime you put another coat of a color, if you put a second coat on your doll before you bake it, I call that stacking the paint. And if you're stacking different colors, like red on top of blue, you better make sure it's fully dry, because if it's not, you're going to change the color. The red would mix with the blue and make purple feet, and I don't think you want purple feet. Now, if you're adding purple to make them darker, that's different. But if you're just painting the foot like this, you're not going to want it to be purple. Sometimes people add purple before they put a layer on, because it makes the layer they put on darker. And that's what they want. They want the darkness of, I'm just going to use a bigger brush that can hold more paint. That's what they want, is a color that's a little bit darker than what they're able to put on in one coat. So they put purple on first, and it darkens the skin tone of the kit everywhere you put the purple, and then when you put the color on top, that part that's purple will be darker than other parts. Usually they do it when they're going to paint the whole leg or something, but they want the foot to be darker. They'll just put a little purple on the foot, and then when they paint the whole entire leg, whether it be red or whatever color they're putting on it, the foot will look darker than the rest of it because they put the purple on first. So that's something that you can think about. It's a possibility this red is not going to show, the blue is not going to show after we get the feet painted red. But it's okay, because we can add more blue later if we want to. You don't want to put too much on a doll before you bake it. It gets chalky, and it can also get shiny sometimes. And even though I matte varnished her, all of my dolls are sealed with matte varnish before I even start painting them, because it helps the paint to take better. I learned that by accident when I was painting a doll one time, and there was spots on the doll. I seem to always find at least one spot on the doll that wouldn't color the same as the rest of the doll. Sometimes it was just a spot on the leg or the face, and sometimes it was the hands or the feet. But they just wouldn't color those spots. And I'd get so aggravated trying to make it take paint. And one time I had put blush all over my doll. And there was a spot or two that, blush is my final coat usually. And then I would seal the doll. And then I'd go, I'm just so, I'd get them out of the oven from their final bake. And I'd go, it's still no color. I'm going to try to hit it one more time with a little color. And when I'd put the color on there, it would take that time because there was sealer underneath it. And from having that experience several times, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to seal the entire doll, and that way I'm sure that all of the doll will get colored. There won't be any spots that won't take any paint. And it worked. And so from then on, I've done it pretty much with every doll. I have done a few videos where I would do some trial things where people can see if sealer works better than, some people use paint, not paint thinner, but thinning medium. It is a medium, just like sealer is, but it's not the same. And I did 2 dolls side by side, and one I put thinning medium on, and one I put matte sealer on. And then I baked them, and I started painting them. And as you went through, you could definitely tell that one of them was darker and better looking than the other one. The paint just took better. And at the end, I showed the results and everything. The video's still up. I don't remember what it's called, but it's still up if anybody wants to go back and watch that one. And I decided in my trial that the sealer worked better than the thinning medium. But if you don't have any sealer, by all means, put some thinning medium on them, because you do want the color of your doll to stick. And if it's not sticking very good, then you need to do something to make it stick better, because you don't want to put 15 layers. I mean, I don't want to. You might not mind, but I mind. I don't want to put 15 layers on my doll. That's why I gave up on Ashley. She never was turning any other different color. She was just staying that color. And it seemed like her skin tone was getting worse and worse. So I decided to stop instead of moving on with her. Anyway, I've got their hands and feet are now red-ish. So when we're putting on layers, they're going to stay a little darker than the rest of their legs and stuff. But I'm going to try to put a few creases on her. I don't know how they're going to stay at this point. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. That's just the thing with creases. I don't care how you put them on. I've used the powder stuff. I've used the paint. I've used pencils. I've used all kind of things, and they just don't seem to stay the whole run of the dolls. Pencils stay pretty good. You need a very sharp pencil to get a crease that's down in the crease and doesn't look just horrible. You need a sharp pencil. As you're doing it, your pencil's going to get dull and you're going to need to sharpen it again. I'm only doing the biggest creases that are on her. I'm not doing the superficial looking ones, because that would just take too much time. You want to make sure your pencil is down in the crease too. You don't want to be getting pencil crease marks all over the doll. That just kills the whole reason for having a crease to begin with, because the crease is what makes that dented in spot actually look a little dented in more, is because you put pencil on it. Now, normally I would do her feet, but this red paint is still a little wet, and it wouldn't be productive. It would actually be counterproductive at this point. So we're going to save feet and hands for later. I'm just putting this one little coat of creases on because it's very, very possible that it's going to come out when you start painting your doll. Oops, I got out of the line a little there. I have to rub that off. See around the little elbows where they have those little creases? That's really cute to enhance that a little bit. They're superficial, but I go on and do them because they're around the knees or the elbows. And I just do these bigger creases. They're the ones that are going to show, really. And So I'm just giving her just a little bit of creasing. This one only has one little thing. The bottom one doesn't have one really. Well, it does have a very, very, very superficial one. But if you did every single crease on a doll, it would just look so funny. It would just be too many creases. Now I'm going to crease these little lines in her hands and stuff, but I'm not going to do it right now because, like I said, she's a little wet. I'm going to wait until she comes out of the oven, and I'm going to do it then. You can take your brush. You almost exclusively need to use a flat brush like this. It can be angled, though. I have one in here. Here, this is a flat brush with an angle on it. And having an angled brush does help you get down in the crease a little bit better. But this flimsy brush, the bristles are not stiff enough to really do the job well. I need to get me some more Ultimate Fusion brushes. This is an Ultimate Fusion brush. And even though I didn't like their paint, I love their brushes. They are fabulous. But this brush was probably $20 or more all by itself, and you just can't afford to be buying a lot of brushes that expensive. I use cheap brushes, but they're good brushes. The bristles do not fall out of them, and they work really well. On several videos, I have posted a link to these brushes, and they are Royal and Langnickel Crafter's Choice, and they have gold colored handles. These gold colored brushes are superior brushes for the price. Now I'm sure some of those real expensive sets of brushes you can get, that they actually have some brushes that are maybe a little more quality than these. But these have, this set of 15 brushes has tiny little flat brushes, great big flat brushes, great big round. They have these round bristle brushes like this one. You get almost every kind of brush you can think of, all the way down to even teeny weeny little brushes like this one. You get a huge variety of brushes for your money. And they come in a package that looks like this. I just put them back up there on this top shelf. You'll know them when you see them online. It says right on it, Crafter's Choice, 15 piece. And you get 15 whole brushes in here. And if you shop around online, just punch in all the information on here. I put in Royal and Langnickel, Crafter's Choice, Synthetic Camel Hair, 15-piece set. It's these bristles do not fall out. They're not the same as other Royal and Langnickel brushes, though. So you have to be careful that you're getting the right kind. I recently bought some similar brushes, and they're not Royal and Langnickel, even though I thought they were when I was buying them. And they have purple handles, and they also have simulated camel hair bristles, and they do not fall out either. Now these I got from Hobby Lobby. That's where I got them. Hobby Lobby, and they were only $6 a set, and they had 15 brushes too. And they're nice brushes as well. But you don't get the same configuration of brushes you get in this one. This one has big fluffy brushes, it has little flat brushes, it has round brushes, it has all shapes and sizes of brushes. And the other set has either flat or round. It doesn't have any big fluffy brushes. But you can still do the same thing with this brush that's flat-ish as you can with this brush that's fluffy. Pretty much the same thing. So you don't have to worry about that your brush isn't going to work because it's not fluffy, because it will. Having a fluffy brush is not that big of a deal. Anyway, she has got all of the color in undertones that I want to give her. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint her lips and nails. And I have another awesome Ultimate Fusion brush for that. It's the one that only has a few little hairs in it. It's similar to this one in Royal and Langnickel. They are about the same. This one would do the same thing, but those I use for my dry brushing. And this one I use for wet brushing. And I use this thicker paint that's in. I took a jar of just thinning medium, and I put the color. See, this one doesn't have a brand name on it, because this is one that was created after Genesis stopped and before the Gemini came out. It just says Pratt Paints thinning medium. That's all it says on it. And anyway, it's thick because I didn't put any paint thinner in it. I just used the thinning medium just the way it was, and I put my color right into the thinning medium. And if I hadn't taken a good bit of this paint out to mix other colors and things, it would still almost be completely full. You just use the tiniest bit to paint lips and nails, and it just lasts practically forever. And if it starts to look like it's getting too thick on you, all you got to do is put some more thinning medium in it, because it's just getting a little clunky, you know. But I paint the lips with this because it stays a little better than just regular thin paint would. A lot of people just use their thin paint, which is fine if that's what you want to do. And but I want it to stay. I don't want to put. It's already hard enough to build the color in the nose. Building the color on the lips is extremely hard, and so this helps because it's thicker. It will stay on the lips a little bit better, and it will color the lips a little bit more. Each time you put it on, it's a little bit thicker and better, and you'll get a nice lip color much quicker with this than you would thin paint. Some people also put purple on the lips to darken them up a bit, so they don't have to put as many coats. I've done it before and it's fine, but I just choose not to do it. I don't know why, I just don't want to do it. I'd rather just put the lip color on. Sometimes this first coat won't even hardly color the lips at all, because it's just very, very light colored. It's not fully extreme darkness like a lot of people put on their dolls' lips. I've seen people post their dolls on the baby group, and they have done all the doll except the lips and nails. The whole entire doll. They don't keep the lips and nails up until they're finished with the rest of the doll. And then they go back and do the lips and nails. And I'm going, I don't understand that at all. If you don't keep up the lips, then you have to do it all. I mean, you can only do so much to the lips before you bake and make that particular layer or several layers, whatever way you're doing it, be permanent. Because otherwise, it's just not going to take hold good, because the lips are just got too much gooky paint on them that isn't cured. If you get it on the face, just get you one of your pointy swabs. I use these pointy swabs. You can get them at Walmart. They're Equate brand, for heaven's sakes. They're cheap. Unlike the ones you get from the baby sites, are going to be more expensive. But I get these because they're cheap and they work really well, and they are actually exactly the same. Except some of the pointy ones you have a sort of, I don't know, a flat, like an eyeshadow thing on one end and a point on the other end. But I don't see any reason for that eyeshadowy looking thing on one end. You won't use that end. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't see any reason that I'd ever need that. So I get these at Walmart because they're just much, much cheaper there. A lot of things are. So before you go off buying a bunch of kits and stuff like, I mean, I'm not talking about doll kits. I'm talking about starter kits and things like that. Just know that a lot of the things they put in there are not worth the money that you're spending on them. The price is extremely high. When I started out, I looked at what was in the starter kit and I said, you know, I believe I can get swabs and cotton balls and whatever else is in there, like toothpicks and, you know, things like that, cheaper at Walmart. Heaven knows you can get them way, way cheaper. And they go way further too, because you get way more for your money. They're not only cheaper, you get a lot more in them. And so I looked at the paints they had in the starter kit, and I just went through and picked the colors I thought I was going to use instead of getting all those weird colors, and I just bought that, and then I picked out some. They have a few brushes in there They have things like swabs and little paint sticks like this, which you can get at Walmart real cheap. And they have some tiny jars of paint. They don't give you this jar. They give you the one that's smaller than that. It's like, oh, I don't even have one handy to show you. It's about half that size, maybe a tiny bit more than half. I don't know, but it's smaller, way smaller than that jar. And they give you a tiny little thing of paint thinner. Where you can go to Walmart and get your paint thinner too. That's where I get mine. Some people get that Mona Lisa, but I think it's overpriced. All you have to do to get the smell out of your paint thinner is leave it open. If you want to sit it out in your garage open, the smell will evaporate. It'll still have a slight smell, but it won't. But even the Mona Lisa has a smell. Even though they say it's odorless, it's really not. But anyway, I'm going to put some of this in her nose as well to color the inside of her nose because it's just a little bit plain. What you want to do is get enough in there to color the nose, but not enough that it could run out. You want to be able to coat the whole inside of the nose with this and get it evenly colored. Even if it's not dark, even if you think it won't show up later, you're starting to build it. And that's the important thing right now, is that we're starting to build a nose color. There we go. Her lips are painted, and inside of her nose is painted. Now I'm going to go over her nails real quick. We're up to 41 minutes. That's a long video, but we're learning a lot. So here we go on the nails. You don't want to put the nails too thick on the first coat, because what's going to happen if you do is, as it's drying, believe it or not, it's going to shift around on the nails. The paint is going to shrink up a little bit and end up way down by the nail bed, and it's not going to be looking good for you. That's one thing you don't want, is super dark in one spot and very, very light in another spot. And that's what's going to happen if you put it on too thick. And sometimes it happens when you put it on thin. You have to go back, and if you get too much on the nail, you just take your swab and just dab some of it off. And even if you have to dab it all off and start again, that's okay. Yes, this is looking very good. Another thing you want to do when you're painting the nails is try to get every nail evenly the same color. You don't want one to be real dark and the other one to be real light. So if you're getting thin on almost all the nails and then you accidentally get thick on one, you're going to want to wipe some of that off, because once they're out of whack from each other, it's hard to get them back in. You'll be trying to catch up some nails at the same time you're trying to color the others on the next step. It just doesn't work well. So even if you can't see this paint after you're finished baking, it's there. It's on the nail. It's just very, very light. Sometimes it does seem like it fades away, but it puts a coat on there that after you're finished baking the doll, it's still on there. You just can't see it. And what it does is it makes a foundation for the next layer to stick a little better. And I've done the nails 3 or 4 times during the time I was making the doll before, and it did just fine. And other times, 1 or 2 coats will keep it nice and dark through the whole painting process. So it's just touch and go with nails too. Depends on the way the vinyl is and just how much paint you do get on your brush and how well it stays after the bake and all that stuff. There's a lot of factors that play into it. So don't feel bad if your paint looks like it faded away, because believe it or not, it's still on the nails. It's just there wasn't much color. I don't mix this up really. I probably should. And when I do, it's more uniform. Every time you dip your paintbrush in there, seems like you get a different color. That's weird. You don't want much on your brush at all. There we go. Now all of her nails are painted. Be very mindful of the way you lay them down. You don't want any part of the nail touching the paper towel. It'll just soak up all that paint and there won't be any paint on their nails. And the same thing when you're putting them in the oven. If you have, if you have a new wave oven like I do, then you have towels or paper towels or something underneath your dolls to keep them from touching anything hot. Even if the pan is plastic that they lay in, it gets very, very hot, and you don't want your doll laying against something that's very, very hot, because it will melt the vinyl, and at the very least it'll burn it. You'll have burn marks on your doll, and that's also very not good to get that. Oh, trying to push up my glasses and I don't even have them on. Sometimes I can tell I'm not seeing very good and I push up my glasses because they tend to go down like this. Anyway, my glasses are very dirty. I need to clean them. But we're going to get her in for a bake now, and we'll be back to do some more on her. We're going to see how she looks when she comes out before we decide that we're ready to start putting layers on her. But I think we're going to be ready. She looks very blushed. She looks very good, actually, I think. So I think she will be ready for some layers. I'm not positive, but I think she will. So I'm just going to ask everybody to please like, subscribe, and share, and happy reborning.